All right, Brad, we're on, man. You ready?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Born ready.
Thanks for letting me sit in on your lunch with Chris. We're gonna have Chris on at your suggestion after meeting him. I think you're right. I think we need to have Chris on in the next few weeks. So
My pleasure.
I appreciate it. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on when I air this. My name's Alex Vidal. I am president of Related ISG International Realty, host of the show you're watching today, The Closer Club. This is episode number 84, pre-recorded because Bradley's in town from Vegas. This is actually the second time I've had Brad on. One of my favorite episodes of the series was when I interviewed Brad in Vegas in October of last year when we went out to celebrate my wife's birthday. If you didn't catch that episode, in that episode with Brad, we talked about his backstory, what drives him every day, mindset, common denominators among the best salespeople, taking risks, fear, making the right choices. We did a lightning round. But today we're going to go big on sales techniques, business lessons, real emotions, as we've been talking about at lunch. So you ready?
Yeah, whenever you are.
Let's do it. So if you don't know Bradley, he is the CEO of Lightspeed. So Grant Cardone, Damon John, Tony Robbins, plus a bunch of others. If you've ever seen their online universities, it's because of him. He also has the Closer School, and he's got a book he's about to release that we're going to talk about. But let's get started, man. Now, one of the things we were just talking about, that you have a message that you like to repeat, right? That you repeat it because at the end of the day, you repeat it because not everybody gets it the first time, right? Or they're still in the same situation. But if you got self-doubt, the rest of what we're going to talk about today doesn't matter. So why do people have self-doubt, and how do you overcome it?
Well, that's a big question. I don't know how much time we have here, but
we have you go on stage in 40 minutes, so we got 15.
A lot of people have self-doubt mainly because they don't really like themselves. They've spent their whole life letting themselves down, letting other people down, lying to themselves, procrastinating, and it became a recording in their subconscious. Now, that's why they call it subconscious, because you're not aware of it. So they just can't figure out why they can't break through plateaus. They cannot break, these norms.
Okay.
And ultimately, it's because it's a subconscious program.
So how do you break it?
You break it ultimately by, number one, forgiving yourself. You have to forgive yourself. It sounds weird, but you have to just basically out loud by yourself forgive yourself.
Okay.
And then ultimately draw a line and say, from now on, I am going to do everything I say I will. So you have to commit, just simple commitment, to do everything you say you're going to do. And then from that point forward, do everything you say you're going to do. Step 3 is set 10 small goals every single day. Now, the mind doesn't understand whether it's a big goal or a small goal. It just understands that you're a winner. And I think ultimately confidence comes from the memory of winning. So what you have to do is get used to winning. So every day set 10 goals.
To be accomplished in the same day?
Yes.
Okay.
So like, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up at 5:45. Do what you say you're going to do. 10 goals every single day. Make sure you hit them. And then over time, you're going to start standing up a little taller, thinking you deserve a little more. And ultimately, you'll do a little more because you think you deserve a little more. And then you'll start looking around at your relationships, and you'll start realizing, hey, I deserve a little more respect. And you'll start weeding out your relationships, and you'll start naturally doing the things that produce success.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Let's talk about Lightspeed Vt. We actually had a great conversation about Lightspeed at lunch. And it's is it the biggest or one of the biggest online platforms or like hosting platforms in the country?
Well, it's the best, that's for damn sure. It's probably one of the biggest
One
too.
of the biggest, but we know it generates hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. What are the top 3 business lessons you've learned in being the founder and CEO of Lightspeed?
Man, it's got to be a win-win situation. If it's not, people tend to end it.
Okay.
So if you want long-lasting, make sure things are win-win. I remember when I was about 8 or 9 years old, I got a job pulling weeds, and the guy ultimately gave me $1/4 a weed to pull weeds, and he gave me the job so I could earn a little money for the weekend.
Okay.
And he thought he'd owe me $10, $20. Well, I went out and I pulled 800 weeds, and he didn't realize I was going to do that. So he owed me a couple $100, which wasn't, part of the at least concept.
Sure.
So he fired me, and I thought to myself, all you had to do was do a good job, but in reality, you have to do win-win. Win-win situations.
All right.
And then the third thing I guess it would teach me is ultimately to deliver value. I mean, everyone always says deliver value, but how do you actually do that? You want to make sure that everyone has enough information or the right information to take it to the next level. Most people assume some things, but very few will actually take those things and implement them. So action, I would say.
There you go. Now, you recently launched Closer School, and we talked a lot about that at lunch as well. It's your own personal online training system, because you are the guy that closed, the one that's teaching all these people to close, as you like to say. And in there, you cover, I counted at least 19 different subjects. Some of them appearance, prospecting, branding, social media, objections, to closing the sale, just to name a few. If you were to choose 3 or 4 things or skills that are a necessity 100% of the time. So I'm getting dressed, I'm coming here to meet you at the Ritz-Carlton to interview you. What are the 3 or 4 boxes that I need to check every single time?
Number one, you have to understand relationships are the new economy. To find, attract, and nurture relationships, learn that skill.
Okay.
I would say listening. A lot of people do not listen actively. They listen to respond rather than listen to understand. And listening is a skill that if you really, really master, it's going to take you a long way. The third one I would say is the ability to get past any objection. And I teach in Closer School, how do you get past any objection? And ultimately, if you have that ability, you're able to get past the no's and turn them into yeses.
Okay. So give me another one. Are those the top 3? So make sure you practice the skill of overcoming objections. Make sure you practice the skill of 2 ears, 1 mouth, and master the skill of when you go there with every intention of building upon that relationship.
Yeah, I mean, don't try to approach it as I want to sell this person something. Approach it as I want to build a relationship.
Got it.
So if you're good at building relationships, that's good. Number 2 is not necessarily in this order, but listening skills. Most people listen to understand or listen to respond when you should listen to understand, and that's a skill most salespeople don't embrace or master. And then again, like I said, the third and foremost. Well, I wouldn't say foremost, but the third one would be, what did I say?
So you said listen, building relationships, objections.
Get past objections.
There you go. I was listening. All right, talk to me about getting to yes. I've only asked this question to 2 people. You're the second one. The first one was to Jordan Belfort, as we get the cops going down A1A here in Fort Lauderdale. What are the most important steps and key components on your path to getting to a yes?
Well, I mean, ultimately finding out and listening, the 3 things I just mentioned. If you listen closely, the customer will tell you everything they need or everything you need to sell them a product.
Got it.
You have to, an exchange happens when the value of your product exceeds the value they have for their money.
Got it.
And the only person that will tell you that are the customer.
Got it. We may have to, where is that guy? Because he's been going for a while. Must be a big emergency. All right, we're good now. All right, so as long as you make sure, if you want to get to that yes, you really listen to your client, be prepared to handle any objection they're giving you, right? And as long as you're answering the question, does this help me build my relationship with this person, you're going to get to that yes.
Well, not necessarily. You get to a yes by understanding how to overcome any objection.
Got it. Okay.
So again, in Closer School, I will teach people a formula that will allow them to get past any objection. An objection is when someone says no. So like people always ask me, what's the difference between a salesperson and a closer? A salesperson meets you, answers your questions, perhaps sells you a product, you're the salesperson. A closer comes in when someone says no, and we need to get them to a yes. So to be a closer is the difference between a no and a yes. So how do you do that? Ask the right question. Well, yeah.
Ask the right questions.
But you have to ask the right questions, and listen closely to the answers. And usually they will tell you exactly how to sell them the product.
Do you ever, it's funny, I learned this in marriage counseling and I use it in recruiting, which has worked out great, which is, somebody's telling you something, but you may understand it differently than the way they're telling you. So do you ever repeat back to them, hey, what I'm understanding from what you're telling me is this is what I heard you say, and repeat it back to them?
Sure.
All right, got it. Talk to me about, there's 2 things you recently said, which if you don't follow Bradley on social media, it's The Real Bradley. fucking phenomenal. Sorry, whatever, it doesn't matter. But one of the best Instagram pages out there. But there are two things you said out there recently that I loved. One was talking about having multiple mentors versus one mentor.
Yeah.
Actually, that was with Albert Priscilla, our mutual friend. Why do you believe in having multiple? I agree with you, but share with the audience your opinion as to why they should have multiple mentors.
Well, because, I mean, you can learn from everyone. And when you're literally trying to succeed in life, look at the people that have failed. Why did they fail? That's something to learn from. Look at the people that won. Why did they win? That's something to learn from. But in my opinion, I learned from my kids, I learned from my employees, I learned from my friends, I learned from my surroundings. Ultimately, I don't think, if you try to figure out one person or one way to do things, that you're very, rounded. I think you should learn from everybody.
Got it. So there are people teaching you how to do things, and there are also people teaching you how not to do things.
Yeah.
Got it. Last one. All right, and then we're going to talk about your book and all that. Never be afraid to talk to anyone.
Yeah, I mean,
let it rip. I love that.
Well, dude, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. Period. End of conversation. If you guys are ever going to listen to one thing I say, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. The reason you and I know each other is someone shook a hand. Someone introduced themselves. So I would just say, listen, if you want more, do more. Get better and scale.
Sure.
So how do you do that? A lot of people always say, well, how do I earn twice as much money? Do twice as many things. What are you doing to earn money now? So do more, get better, and scale.
There you go. And I love it too. It's like you already have the no, right? So what do you lose in talking to people too? If you don't go up and talk to that girl, as you referenced, I think in that piece was, well, she already told you no. Or you already got the no, and might as well see if you can get the yes.
Yeah, too many people are afraid to introduce themselves or ask for a sale or ask for a date or whatever the case may be. And what you don't understand is you're already getting no. So let's use girls for an example. If I saw a girl walk by, gorgeous, I would love to be with her. However, she's probably too pretty for me. I don't really want to get rejected. What if she says no? So I don't say anything.
Yep.
Well, the only way that it could possibly happen is for me to introduce myself. So instead of worrying about what might happen if you do it, worry about what might happen if you don't.
Yeah. There you go. I love it. All right. Tell them about your book and how they find you, the Closer School, all that good stuff.
I wrote a book. It's called The Hard Way. Lessons I've learned the hard way so you don't have to. It's coming out soon. You can pre-order it. Just go to bradlee.com.
Yep.
But ultimately, it's just, about 20 lessons that I've learned the hard way that if you apply to your life, you're going to basically accelerate your journey to success quicker, faster, stronger. It's stuff I wish I would have known 20 years ago.
There you go. Brad, again, my man, thank you so much. I appreciate not only you sitting down with me now for the interview, but our time at lunch together with Chris.
My pleasure.
Awesome. And any parting words? I'm going to go turn the camera off.
Peace. Be real. Keep it real, folks.
There you go.